Hello to the anointed. Do not scream when your life begins to unravel after you touch something sacred with dirty hands. Because, to be honest, karma has not been lost. It has simply been wrapped in silence. This time she wore heels. They saw it as a harmless diversion that would cause you trouble. Your quietness sets you apart. You did not fight a dirty battle. You chose not to disclose them despite having every reason to do so. However, they were not aware of this. You were classified, not simply silent. They were present, disparaging a soul that had been deeply encoded by the divine. Every digital receipt, phone call, and word they whispered in the shadows is now returning to them like a cosmic subpoena. In reality, according to ancient spiritual systems such as Kabbalistic, Vedic, and African mysticism, those who cause harm to the anointed frequently face generational karma rather than just personal karma. This implies that certain people did not simply make mistakes in their personal lives. Rather, they have put their lineage on a spiritual payment plan for an event they thought would never happen. What is the present situation? Oh, they are now trembling, not because you are a threat, but because they failed to consider that the universe observes silently and responds in surround sound. Therefore, remain seated. Because in this video, we are not only discussing karma, we are also revealing the reasons why your name was protected, the divine nature of their demise, and the spirituality that makes you so untouchable that those who mocked you yesterday are now praying for mercy. And for those who still believe that karma is just a form of bad luck, baby, you are about to learn that it is capable of both precision and terrible timing. We should begin. For starters, they had no idea you were a cosmic law initiate, not just a human target. They believed they were conversing in a friendly manner with an ordinary person, whom they could manipulate, abandon, gossip about, or emotionally degrade without consequences. However, they were unaware that you were more than just an arbitrary target. They were manipulating a soul that had been chosen and aided by a higher power. Their actions were not only morally repugnant, but they also broke a spiritual law they were unaware of. There are people on this planet who have energy that comes from beyond the planet. They were born with an alternate frequency and are linked to an ancient and unknown entity. And when others cross those people, especially with malicious intent, they aren't just being petty or spiteful. They are essentially entering into a contract of consequences that they did not voluntarily agree to, but must still pay for. You did not request to be chosen. Although you did not display a flag to proclaim your spiritual status, the indicators were always present. Your inner radiance, intuition, resilience, and ability to forgive in the face of adversity are all inherent qualities in you. In some ways, your adversaries could feel it, the unease in their hearts that accompanied their deception and the paranoia that ensued after they betrayed you. They were aware that something was wrong but chose to ignore it, believing that their intelligence would keep them safe. They didn't understand that you were part of a larger entity. Every person who tried to exploit you was being tested by the universe itself, because you were a living test. A countdown started the moment they plotted, mocked, or moved against you. Interfering with a chosen one is more than just causing harm to an individual. It is also a disruption of divine order. This type of imbalance always results in a correction. Their lives are currently in shambles, not due to your vengeful intentions or curses, but because they violated a spiritual principle that they did not understand. They failed a divine examination that they were not aware they were taking, and the universe is now collecting the cost. They thought the attack was harmless, but they were blinded by karma and walked right into it. They should have refrained from approaching you. The second point is that what they referred to as frailty was actually a type of sacred restraint. You were perceived as vulnerable because you did not respond. You avoided disclosing them. You did not sully their reputation when it was your right to do so. You remained silent when they lied to you, gossiped, and disrupted your peace of mind. They mistook your compassion for naivety and your silence for tenderness. They failed to recognize that you were not frail. You were preventing them from surviving an extremely powerful force. You didn't fear them. Before the universe intervened, you gave them the opportunity to correct their mistakes. You were aware of your abilities. You were aware of the power of your words. You knew their world would crumble if you acted with complete authority. But you chose restraint, not because they were worth it, but because you refused to let them drag you down with them. That was considered a sacred discipline. They saw it as an opportunity to escalate their attacks against you. Furthermore, they are currently facing penalties for failing to recognize the distinction. In reality, the silence they perceived was an expression of divine mercy. You were protecting them from the consequences they begged to endure. They believed they had won each time you chose to withdraw. They were not aware that they were being spared. The tempest did not strike because you were positioned between them and the approaching storm. You were the gap between action and its consequences. They saw you as fractured, however, you were the breach that kept them from divine judgment. Currently, they are learning through adversity. The karma they are currently facing is not arbitrary. They got everything they wanted when they kept pushing, prodding, and disregarding the sacred boundaries surrounding your spirit. You weren't vulnerable. You were the tranquilizer before the spiritual tumult. They misinterpreted your silence, and now that you've left the scene, karma is fulfilling the actions you refused to take. It's not just a matter of fixing them. They are being reminded of your real identity. And all of a sudden, the confidence they had when you were silent had vanished. Because they now realize you weren't silent out of terror. You remained reserved during your absence from the position of authority. Third, their karma has been personalized as a result of the spiritual larceny. They did not simply betray you. They attempted to handle something that was not theirs. Your time, peace, and vitality were not the only factors. It represents your spiritual identity. They tried to manipulate, steal, imitate, and copy aspects of your essence as if they were for sale. In doing so, they committed a type of theft that the universe never tolerates: spiritual thievery. That is the type of offense that will elicit a personal response from karma. After being chosen, you must possess an item that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or replicated. It's ingrained in your being. You have insight, favor, protection, and power that were not yours. I received it via your channel. This is why so many people were drawn to you, despite their secret envy. They desired your essence free of the burden of your cross. They had no desire to emulate your behavior. They wanted to supplant you. Some people desired your voice, gift, fortitude, and anointing. However, they were unaware of the costs associated with transporting it. The way they attempted to use this against you was truly remarkable. They observed, examined, and pretended to admire you while devising a strategy to deplete you. And when they thought they had depleted your vitality, they turned against you. They thought they could deceive the universe by wearing your epidermis. However, the facts are as follows. Spiritual responsibilities cannot be stolen. They are only assignable. They initiate the system of consequences designed specifically for the individual attempting to forge their way into your vocation. This is actually happening right now. They are currently suffering from confusion, paranoia, illness, financial depletion, and mental instability as a result of their unintentional activation of karma. Every fabricated compliment, manipulation, and attempt to profit from your spiritual radiance comes at a cost. Additionally, karma consistently assesses the total price. They did not simply make an error. They attempted to capitalize on an opportunity that was never meant for them. And now, each blessing they attempt to rob has become an unbearable burden. It was unnecessary for you to belittle them. The energy resolved the issue. They sought to deprive you of what was divine. They are currently discovering the truth the hard way. Stealing from the sacred causes more than just a loss. You go through a spiritual audit. Furthermore, it is never mild. Number 4, they did not damage your reputation. They set fire to their own reflection. They believed they were slandering your reputation and that telling the appropriate lie to the appropriate person at the appropriate time would turn people against you. They whispered behind your back, magnified your flaws, and twisted your truth into something repulsive. However, they were unaware that their actions were only demonstrating their identity, not yours. They weren't harming your reputation. They were exposing their own reflections. In addition, it lacked visual appeal. It was never yours to carry, which is why the dirt they tried to throw on you didn't stick. You kept your integrity. You refrained from responding. You didn't fight fire with fire. You allowed the disorder to unfold while remaining calm. And that decision, it saved you. As the dust settles, people are starting to see the situation more clearly. They are starting to make inquiries. Their memories revolve around the events that did not add up. Suddenly, your name does not appear in their conversation. It's theirs. You were never the target of their falsehoods. They were about hiding their own insecurities. You made them uncomfortable by simply existing. Their disorder was exacerbated by your calm. Your purpose served as a reminder of everything they were unwilling to become. As a result, they attempted to assassinate your character in order to reduce your influence. However, rather than downplaying it, they emphasized their dysfunction. Currently, the energy they emit is reversed. The same stories that they told about you are now being told about themselves. And this time, people are truly paying attention because their actions are finally in sync with the creation. No one is buying the act anymore. The headpiece is fractured. The audience is leaving, and the performance is tiring. You were not required to defend your reputation. You were only required to maintain your alignment. The rest was handled by the universe. Currently, the truth is louder than their fabrications. The trap they had set for you provided a platform for their self-disclosure, while you maintained proper hygiene. So what about the irony? They undermined their own credibility in order to undermine yours. Number 5, they thought they had physically injured you. Unfortunately, they have simply reactivated an antiquated code within you. They were absolutely certain that you had finished the task. They believed that the trauma, loss, and betrayal would eventually silence you. They expected to see you diminish, vanish, or fall into the same obscurity into which they had attempted to drag you. They were unaware that suffering does not weaken the chosen. It promotes their activation. They inadvertently activated your higher programming by breaking your heart. They gave you access to a previously unknown version of yourself. You were not destroyed by your suffering. It awakened you. And not just in terms of thoughts and emotions. It reawakened a spiritual DNA that had been dormant until life ripped you apart. A deeper understanding and something ancient within your spirit. You began to recall your true identity prior to the suffering, both in this lifetime and on a soul level. You were not simply eking out an existence. You had a recalibration. Every silent scream into your pillow, every sleepless night, and every tear was a code that triggered sacred memory, fortitude, and awareness that no book or mentor could ever impart. This was an unexpected development. They anticipated that the anguish would make you resentful, crushed, and depressed. Rather, it made you unshakable, spiritually powerful, and laser-focused. You began to act differently, as if you could see past others, acknowledging information that others have overlooked, speaking with a force that connected with people's inner selves. The pain was more than just unpleasant. It initiated you. You unknowingly entered into a superior contract. Currently, the universe is readjusting the environment around you. Opportunities are abundant. Dead ends are being resolved. Allies who are hidden are emerging. The very people who tried to bury you are now forced to witness the events as they unfold. They are surprised by your continued presence. However, the fact that you are no longer the person they attempted to transform is what truly scares them. You're larger, more acute, and more focused. Their actions did not cause you to physically break. They dispelled the illusion that you were always powerless. During the process, they activated the version of you that remembers why you arrived. Currently, you act as if you are aware. Furthermore, they are capable of sensing it despite their inability to express it. Sixth, their karma does not indicate misfortune. The bill is for the violation of a sacred entity. Their circumstances are more than simply unfortunate. This is not a difficult period. Furthermore, they are not being treated unjustly by the universe. They are currently dealing with delayed payment for a spiritual crime that they believed no one had witnessed. Karma is currently engulfing them. That's the invoice. Also, what is the fee? Violating the rights of a person protected by divine law. They treated you like you were disposable. Similarly, your energy, loyalty, affection, and spirit may be exploited, discarded, or distorted to their own advantage. However, they were unaware of and refused to recognize the fact that you were marked. Individuals currently traversing the earth carry divine contracts. Contracts are not made for fame or influence, but for impact, light, and the kind of healing and truth that disrupts any form of darkness into which they enter. You're one of them. When people pass through that level of consciousness, they always receive a receipt. They saw you as ordinary because of your humility, lack of pride, and willingness to provide them with numerous opportunities. But all of this was the result of grace, not frailty. The consequences they mocked are now manifesting in real time, as they have depleted it. Financial collapse, emotional breakdowns, sleepless nights, and broken relationships are all difficult to describe. Items that cannot be corrected with any amount of affirmation or distraction. You didn't insult them. You refrained from seeking retribution. You simply eliminated yourself. And as you retreated, their karma took over. Because the divine ledger lacks emotional content. It's accurate. It retains the memory of every deception, every fabrication, and every betrayal that they swore would remain undisclosed. And now their personal lives are revealing themselves. They are being exposed in ways that appear to be preternatural given their nature. The universe does not need to cry out loud. It merely withdraws its hand. The repercussions are undeniable, loud, and unpleasant when that hand is the only thing keeping them from facing the consequences of their own actions. It is not an accident that they are experiencing these circumstances. Accountability is the term. They transgressed against a sacrosanct object. The debt is now due. Extensions are prohibited. 7th, they chuckled when you were defeated. Presently, they are shrieking as you ascend. They laughed when you fell and lost everything. When you were mute, struggling, misunderstood, and isolated. They found your suffering to be amusing. The reason they were so brazen in their derision was that they truly believed you were done. Your depressed moment served as a mirror for them to elevate their own self-esteem. They exchanged jokes, murmured slander, and nodded in agreement when others smeared your name. It provided them with a sense of security to believe that you were inferior to them. However, they were unaware that your decline was not a failure. It was a prelude to an event that they were never intended to comprehend. You were never in a position to lose. You were being relocated. Elevation is not expedited by the divine. It permits betrayal, breakdown, and silence, ensuring that the rise is impossible to deny when it occurs. Additionally, that elevation has transpired. You are entering a state of authority, tranquility, and purpose. Doors are opening that no human being can close. Things are aligning in a manner that is not logical. The same individuals who previously laughed are now in a state of terror, not because you are shining, but because your glow has confirmed something that is terrifying to them. That they were amusing themselves at an individual whom God was consistently supporting. Your return is accomplishing more than simply enhancing your status. It is revealing them. They were more than mere enemies. In your narrative, they were spiritual antagonists. They identified a consciousness that was in the process of being divinely constructed. And now, the evidence of your favor is rendering their past behavior appear malevolent in retrospect. They are now recognizing that they were actually engaged in a conflict with something sacrosanct while they were attempting to bury you. It is not solely jealousy. Guilt is the culprit. Fear is the cause. Because they are aware that blessings such as yours are not bestowed upon anyone without merit. They fall upon the chosen, the tested, and the summoned. They are now left with a sickening sensation. What if I was ridiculing an individual whom God had been guiding throughout the entire process? This is the reason they are unable to tolerate your triumph. They are not perturbed by your victories. It is the significance of your victories. Your ascent serves as evidence, proof that their mirth did not impede your destiny. It simply recorded the people who were applauding because they believed God had abandoned them. Currently, He is publicly praising you, and their silence is shocking. 8th, what they had hidden is now flourishing in the public eye. They truly believed they could insinuate lies and go undetected. They reasoned that if they murmured quietly enough, twisted the facts just right, and moved stealthily enough, no one would notice. However, they did not anticipate the operation of spiritual law. Energy is perpetually replenished. Seeds are constantly propagating. Furthermore, nothing that is done in the absence of light stays in that location. The seeds they sowed in secret are now blooming in public. Also, it is not a garden. It's a cemetery. They thought they were so clever because they told stories, played the victim, and painted you as the problem while smiling in your face. They went from person to person, sowing lies and creating drama in the hope that you would be too exhausted or incapacitated to defend yourself. However, you did not have to defend yourself. Truth has a pulse. It is capable of breathing. It will eventually be able to function independently. Their actions are now unraveling, not through revenge or disclosure at your hands, but through an unstoppable divine rebalancing. The people they deceived are now seeing their facades crumble. The people they persuaded to expose you are now reconsidering their entire course of action. Their case is being undermined by the relationships they have used to support it. Their credibility is eroding rapidly. And the peculiar aspect? Not a single finger was raised. That is the aspect they are unable to handle. It is not just that they are being exposed. It takes place silently, precisely timed, and without your involvement. The universe is revealing their deception in full volume, publicly, clearly, and unambiguously, just as they did in silence. This is causing mental confusion because they thought they had gotten away with it. In the meantime, you are ascending not through arrogance or ego, but through undeniable reality. Your progress, peace, and consistency are revealing the true nature of people who were previously insecure and incapable of destroying what they didn't understand. And now, as your light spreads, it casts a harsh glow on the foundations of everything they tried to hide. They sowed betrayal, reaped exposure, and the entire world is watching. 9. Their intention was to witness your collapse, but now they are the ones disintegrating. There were people who not only wanted your failure, but demanded it. Your suffering gave them strength. They watched you disintegrate and felt content, as if your anguish validated their own superiority, intelligence, and capability. When you were defeated, they did not disperse. Instead, they circled around, as if they expected you to rise again. And when you remained silent, when you were in survival mode, attempting to reassemble yourself piece by piece, they mistook your silence for failure. However, it was not defeat, but regeneration. They were unable to recognize your sacredness, not because you demonstrated it, but because your spirit contradicted every lie they had told themselves. Your choice did not imply that you were perfect. Rather, it indicated that your journey was marked by spiritual significance and divine guidance. And when they attacked you, whether through manipulation, betrayal, or emotional sabotage, they were not just pursuing you. They were dealing blows to a force beyond their understanding. The tables are being turned in a way that makes them feel sick to their stomachs. The more you reconstruct, the further they unravel. Not because you're cursing them, but because their projections of you are reverberating back. They wake up with a heavy feeling and a loss of health, opportunities, peace, and connections. Their intentions were poisoned, and they are now drinking from their own cup, which is not a coincidence. The attempted break-in resulted in the transformation blueprint. Seen. Furthermore, the position of strength you currently hold makes their vulnerability unavoidable. They are haunted by the realization that the thing that saved your life refined you. And what they once celebrated during your darkest hour is now revealing their internal degeneration. This is not the result of petty karma, but of the universal balance re-establishing itself. The vessel they attempted to destroy, you, was never intended to be broken, and they were never meant to escape without being held accountable. And now that divine justice is in operation, there is no need to dwell on the past. Their flaws include being public, messy, and loud. Not because you wanted it, but because they deserved every penny. Number 10. Regardless of their apologies, the karma continues. They should have heeded the warning signs. The chaos is catching up with them, and you'll notice it. Sudden apologies, awkward texts, and staged concern. However, this is not true accountability. Rather, it is the result of fear. The state of panic that occurs when people realize that the harm they caused was not unintentional, and that the person they attempted to undermine was not ordinary. They apologize for the consequences of their actions, not for their actions themselves. Some of them had dreams, gut feelings, and warnings. They detected it. those subtle reminders that they shouldn't interfere with you. They disregarded moments of uncertainty, the unusual resistance they encountered while plotting against you. Despite their own spirit's efforts to impede them, pride propelled them forward. They did not just harm an individual, they also violated a spiritual principle. They are currently attempting to retract their actions in the hopes that words will negate the already established momentum. However, karma is not based on superficial emotions. It does not respond to crocodile tears or rehearsed apologies. It represents alignment, intention, and energy. It captures the moments that no one else saw, such as when they mocked your pain, manipulated your generosity, or pushed you to the brink of failure. They repeatedly violated explicitly prohibited boundaries, and the universe is currently reconciling the books. They believed that time would wash it away, and that if they kept going, everything would fade. But spiritual law never expires. Every offense is a seed, and those seeds are currently blooming in their lives. Not because you cursed them or exposed them, but because the system they disrespected has finally activated, and it is impervious to their regret. They believed that apologies could be used to avoid facing consequences. However, some doors, once opened, do not close on command. They desired your silence while they violated you, and now they seek your forgiveness to silence their karma. But it doesn't work that way. They were repeatedly warned, yet they chose to gamble with sacred energy. The fallout is no longer optional. It has been scheduled. Number 11. The energy they weaponized is now returning like a boomerang. They believed energy was a game. They assumed that if they played it cleverly enough, twisted your words, provoked you, and gaslit you just right, there would be no consequences. They interpreted your silence as weakness, empathy as naivety, and loyalty as stupidity. They failed to account for the fact that spiritual energy does not die. Rather, it travels. And the same energy that they used to break you is now coming back with surgical precision. They understood your traumas and used them as blueprints for psychological warfare. They pressed against your wounds, not to help, but to control you. They took advantage of your kindness because who would believe someone like you could be the victim when they appeared to be calm and collected? They used your good nature against you, presuming you would not fight back. But you didn't. You walked away instead. That's not what they expected. You did not seek vengeance, launched a smear campaign, or lowered yourself to their level. That's why the boomerang is hitting them so hard. Because they are not destroyed by your hands, but rather undone by their own actions and returning to the sender. Every lie, manipulation, and cruel laugh behind closed doors is now echoing back into their lives in ways they can't shake. However, there's a catch. They lack your grace in dealing with the situation. You suffered in silence but kept your heart intact. You went through your breaking and emerged wiser. But now that they've experienced a fraction of what they put you through, they're crumbling, spiraling, and perplexed as to why everything is going wrong. Their minds are racing, their relationships are crashing, and they have no peace. And they have no idea how to carry the weight they have given you with ease. This is the law of return to work, not as punishment, but as a correction. The universe is revealing exactly what they sent out, but without your resilience to protect them. That is why it is unbearable for them. They were not designed to carry what they attempted to impose on you, and they are now learning the hard way. When sacred energy is mishandled, it always returns, but not in the same form in which it was sent. 12 is the number. They believed they could touch the chosen without consequences. Now they're haunted. At the time, they thought it was hilarious. You appeared vulnerable, quiet, forgiving, and easy to manipulate. They assumed you were just another kind soul they could exploit, deplete, and discard without consequence. They didn't realize you were walking with something ancient and divine. You weren't simply nice. You were anointed. They didn't just mistreat one person. They mishandled spiritual authority. The laughter has vanished, replaced by sleepless nights, unexpected breakdowns, tension in their homes, and unexplained anxiety. It's not a matter of guilt. They're not very honest with themselves. It is something deeper. It's the gnawing realization that they've crossed a line they can't undo. They are paranoid because they feel it. Something is off. Something is following them. And no matter how many times they change the subject, distance themselves, or pretend it is all in the past, it remains. They are haunted. Not by ghosts, but by the energy they disturbed, the sacred presence they unknowingly violated. Every financial blockage, toxic spiral in their relationships, and unexplained health issue is not coincidental. It is the result of spiritual misalignment. They touched a chosen one as if it were nothing. They entered sacred territory with dirty intentions. And now their lives are unraveling, not because you want vengeance, but because the energy you carry reacts when dishonored. This is the importance of being chosen. People don't always notice the spiritual law until it touches them back. They mocked what they should have honored. They attempted to cause harm to what they were supposed to respect. And now their souls are recalling something their minds had forgotten. You were not ordinary. You were a divine assignment, a mirror, and a test, which they failed. As a result, the energy they used to play with is now reflecting back everything they have given. They are unable to sleep, not because they feel sorry for you, but because they have finally felt the same emotions as you. Additionally, it is intolerable. They are not simply apologizing for the actions they committed against you. They are affected by your identity and the true cost of your love. Number 13 is their harshest punishment, witnessing your status as an untouchable. They believed that simply walking away or pushing you out would result in victory. Their perception of you was that you were disposable, someone to mock, ignore, or exploit. They were unable to recognize your worth because of their egotism. You were the one who offered protection, healing energy, loyalty, and grace. Even they didn't understand. However, you were not treated as a gift. They treated you as an option, as if you were always available, no matter how many times they crossed the line. Currently, the situation has reversed, but not in the way that they had hoped, as depicted in a dramatic film. Silence, distance, and denied access prevailed. There was no major altercation or retribution. Additionally, that is the component that they failed to compute. Their most severe penalty was not taking something from you. It is permanently blocked from your access. You are no longer accessible, either emotionally, spiritually, or energetically. You have reached a point where their chaos may have affected you. You were a blessing in their lives, but they were unaware of it. When they were near you, doors opened, blessings were more easily received, and peace lasted longer. Unfortunately, they attributed it to their own brilliance, or worse, to luck. They are currently in environments with oppressive energy, uncertain relationships, and eroding opportunities, and they are unable to identify the deficiency. It's you. They ignored the spiritual protection you offered. They ridiculed the intercessor. They aimed to reduce the sacred connection to a simple human interaction. However, heaven was watching. And now they're watching you enter blessings that they can't sabotage, conversations that they'll never be invited to, and spaces that they don't even have spiritual permission to enter. They are consumed by it, not because they want you back out of affection, but because your ascension confirms their denial that you were ever inferior. Daimye, your intentions were always superior to theirs. They are no longer simply left out of your life. They cannot access the energy that protects them while manipulating your heart. That is karma, watching you thrive, unaffected, untouchable, while acknowledging that they had access to a chosen one and dismissing it as a joke. Furthermore, there is no provision for re-entry or a second chance. The door shut with finality, and they are now aware of it in every blessing they are unable to receive. The 14th number. They did not just pass you by. They violated a divine boundary. They did not just insult you. They desecrated a sacred object. You were not some arbitrary person passing through their life. You were a spiritual assignment, a divine interruption, and a living response to prayers they didn't realize they needed to say. However, they ignored your presence. They crossed you thinking it was just a personal matter, not realizing they were challenging something far more important than mere flesh and blood. They crossed a divine line, and the consequences were always going to be more than emotional. You came into their lives with the intention of elevating them, not through grand speeches or flashy performances, but by simply existing at a higher frequency. You shone light into their darkness. You disrupted generational curses by simply being there. Your energy upended the status quo, exposed dysfunctions, made lies uncomfortable, and awakened every demon they refused to face. They were unprepared for your strength, honesty, and purity. As a result, they fulfilled their responsibilities as wounded individuals. They tried to extinguish what they couldn't understand. However, your assignment was not meant to be admired. Activation always elicits resistance, which was the intended result. The problem is that they did not just resist you. They tried to humiliate, crush, lie on, and exploit you, convinced that they were in control. However, they were not rejecting anyone. They were disregarding a divine command. That's not drama. That is spiritual rebellion. And now the universe is resolving the issue, not because you want retribution, but because divine law requires balance. They interfered with the sacred alignment, resulting in a clear, audible, and irrefutable correction. Relationships are disintegrating. Finances are currently obstructed. There is no peace. Health is precarious. There's no flow. The reality becomes clear as they work to find solutions. They are not simply experiencing karma. This is divine judgment. They thought crossing you was harmless. However, they crossed a spiritual threshold where intent is more important than appearances. Your light was visible, and they chose to sabotage. They accepted your assistance and then chose to cause harm. They are currently witnessing the manifestation of heaven's response. This is not a win for you. This is the divine's restoration of something that was never supposed to be touched. Punishment was not the cause of their demise. It is a correction that is held sacred. And once that line has been crossed, the divine decision cannot be reversed. The truth now stands tall and undeniable, reverberating through every setback, sleepless night, and unopened door. They didn't just betray a good person. They interfered with a divine equation. They assumed that you were the one who was spiraling and disintegrating. However, the collapse they intended to engineer has become a reality. They turned the traps they'd set for you into cages that surrounded them. And the light they tried to dim has become blinding, illuminating every lie, game, and spiritual law. They broke. You were not obligated to reply. It was unnecessary for you to reveal them. The divine completed the task on your behalf. Because when someone touches a chosen one with impure intentions, the universe does not take it lightly. You were not sent to this location to be abused, ridiculed, or deprived. You were sent to this location as a sacred presence, catalyst, and mirror. And their reactions to you were always recorded spiritually, energetically, and cosmically, whether they loved or despised you. You are now ascending in full view, not only elevated but untouchable, not simply healed but restored to divine authority. This was never about vengeance as they watch from the outside, barred from the access they once had, haunted not only by what they did, but also by who you are. It was a question of revelation. It was about the divine law demonstrating that no one is allowed to mishandle sacred energy and walk away unharmed. Your brilliance now draws more attention than their gossip ever could. Their punishment is your tranquility. Their assessment is your ascendance. And as they sit in the silence that they once desired for you, let them feel the weight of what they have lost. A portal, not a person, provides direct access to grace, favor, protection, and elevation. Allow the record to show that they didn't lose you. You denied them access to the divine, and that door will never be reopened at any time. If this message resonated with you, don't just scroll away. By clicking the subscribe button, you will join a community that is aware of your presence, hears your voice, and understands the struggles you face. If it confirms what your spirit already knows, you might enjoy this video. If you've ever felt the burden of being chosen, misunderstood, or mistreated but never defeated, please leave a comment. Additionally, distribute this to someone who needs a reminder. They never walked away from any ordinary situation. It was anointed. Your ascent is not only for your own benefit, it also serves as confirmation for another person. We should tell the truth. It's time to awaken the sleeping giants. We should intentionally disrupt the algorithm. You're visible to me. I respect you. I'll see you in the following one. Decided to stay. Ensure your safety. Remain untouchable.
Chosen one, stop scrolling. This moment will not be repeated. Pay close attention, chosen one, because the information being communicated is more than just a message. It is a summons specifically addressed to you. If you're hearing this, it's not a coincidence or a stroke of fate. You were directed here because an irreversible process has begun in your life and cannot be completed without your assistance. Yes, that is exactly the meaning. There was a time when the object of your desire seemed remote and unattainable. You prayed and hoped for it, and there were days when you wondered if it would ever come true. That period has ended. The item you ordered is no longer waiting for you in the distance. It is currently in motion and progressing at a rate that exceeds your expectations. That is the location of the danger. This is not about desiring something with enough intensity. This relates to alignment. The goal is to pinpoint the exact time you are summoned and act without hesitation. Because coordination matters more than comfort. If you pause, even for a moment, the momentum of the upcoming event may overpower you. It wasn't because it wasn't meant for you. Rather, you weren't there when it arrived. You are being called to a force greater than your anxiety, previous delays, and perception of your ability to persevere. Doors that had been closed for years are now opening, and signals are aligning in ways that are beyond explanation. The bulk of people will not notice the subtle, almost undetectable changes in their circumstances until it is too late. However, the following has not yet been addressed and will not be discussed further at this time. This movement cannot survive purely on the basis of heavenly force. That is the feature that few people ever understand. It requires your participation, and the following events are dependent on your capacity to remain attention and understand the current request. Take a pause before proceeding. Not to choose anything, not to prove anything, but to simply feel the sensation that has just arisen within you. Thresholds are moments like these. The murmur that Elijah heard in Scripture was not in the wind or fire, but in the stillness that demanded his attention. This is the type of situation that requires both silence and decisiveness. This is not a habit or a routine. It is a response, a signal sent inward rather than outward, to bring the dispersed elements within you into alignment. The call of God does not require one to cause commotion. It craves recognition. Recognition always precedes activation.
If this message speaks to you, it means that a part of you is reclaiming your identity. The chosen were seldom the most loud. Rather, they were the ones who remained while others left. Consider Gideon, who was disguised but referred to as mighty, and was only activated when he stayed long enough to hear the truth spoken over him.
Please understand this. Individuals who are unprepared will leave without protest. This is not a form of critique. Those who persist, on the other hand, did it on purpose. The indication is to remain. The alignment is set to persist. Current events will only be fully revealed to those who are aware of them. Those who answer this call will not see their lives return to normal. A transformation is now underway. You won't be able to unsee it after you've seen it. It has been waiting for your awareness of what is now reaching you. The sense of urgency you feel is genuine. The call of God is present, active, and unwavering. What you perceived in quiet, carried without evidence, and waited for over long periods of time, were never expected. This was accurate. In addition, its velocity is currently increasing. The calm stirring that was previously present is now taking shape. The inner whispers, unseen preparation, and visions you so carefully guarded are no longer contained. They are spreading beyond your control, affecting lives you did not intend to affect, much like oil poured out. Not because you forced it, but because the time has arrived for what was previously hidden to come forth. You are not in error. You are at the beginning of a massive endeavor. This is not just a transition. It's the accumulation of momentum. Training was what you considered to be intuition. The sensation of delay was a sign of strength. You were prepared for an hour that now requires your presence, similar to Esther's positioning before the time of choosing. Once the release process begins, it cannot be reversed. Have a look around. What was once sealed is now being unlocked. What was opposed was the softening process itself. Precision is being used to establish links rather than randomness. This movement's velocity is purposeful. God's progress requires your participation at this moment. What has been moving quietly in the background is now infiltrating your reality, necessitating courage, clarity, and your next course of action. This is an important decision. You may unintentionally progress toward devastation if you continue to move without discernment. Stop, take a holy moment right here, and be fully present. Prior to going, I demand that you execute an act of spiritual agreement that may appear simple but has significant spiritual meaning. Initially, like this video, please ensure that the action is more than just a gesture. Let this be a declaration. I oppose all of the enemy's schemes. I agree with God's words that are spoken over my existence. The second step is to subscribe to and stay connected to a stream of communications designed to keep your spirit alert, focused, and vigilant, rather than just a channel. Your connection is critical to ensuring that this message reaches its intended audience as we approach 20,000 subscribers. Third, please leave a comment with your city and location, as well as whether you are 999 or 777 inches. Allow this to function as a prophetic sign for you and God. I'm not the one who is lost. You have summoned me to re-establish alignment. I'm currently alert. I won't be fooled. Please let me know if you are inspired and capable of supporting this ministry through petitions, words, or the Super Thanks feature. You are not just donating. Emma, you are working with us on this project. Your seed was not chosen at random. Alignment is the term. It is your demonstration of faith in the path you are taking, Lord. I agree with your safeguarding. I concur. This is when faith must be renewed. Hesitation is not neutral in this context. It has the potential to result in the loss of what you have spent your entire life preparing for. You are on the verge of a true metamorphosis, a point beyond which nothing can ever return to its prior state. Every trial, delay, and sacrifice has led you to this particular point. You are being observed. This is not an accident. You can feel the coming arrival of fate. The atmosphere of change surrounds you, as if you were standing on the edge of a cliff. Despite your secure footing, the future is vast and unfamiliar. The unknown is not a threat. This is the invitation, and it is yours. Being chosen never came with the promise of comfort. It indicated confidence. It entailed the task of changing what is currently available into what is possible. It is possible that others will not understand your resolve. Although the world may question your actions, this edge is sacred. This is the place where bravery is gathered, faith is cultivated, and purpose is eventually met via action. The challenges you faced fueled your determination to advance and disperse light to the areas that needed it the most. Your placement here was deliberate. Your spirit has been prepared to respond, not withdraw. This is the point of intersection. The transition from preparation to action. The edge isn't a scary place. It is the place where decisions are made. You are brought into alignment with a single step. One of the options limits you to a circumstance that has already occurred. Your selection will determine the course of events that follow. Although heavenly power is boundless, it has chosen to function collaboratively. This is a sacred partnership. Your hands, voice, decisions, and trust are all essential to the current formation. The unseen is ready to enter the visible realm, but it must first pass through you. The vessel is you. The passage represents you. You are the point where the earth meets the heavens. Without your response, the movement cannot fully manifest itself. Power would be present, but rhythm would be disturbed, much like a tide without the effect of the moon. This is the significance of your job. God is already in motion. However, He needs your permission to take the initiative, push forward, and act without delay. Your readiness opens doors that no force on earth can. You are being attracted into chances that are hidden from human sight, as well as breakthroughs that defy logic. Form is now required for all silent prayers and visions that were previously carried without explanation. You are not being dispatched independently. Despite the urgent nature of the crisis, provision has already been initiated. You will receive guidance. You will be surrounded by supporters. Resources, relationships, and insights will appear just when they are needed. You are not at the edge of a strategy. You are part of a divinely constructed narrative. The time comes when delaying is no longer a wise decision, but rather a form of resistance. Preparation has reached its peak. The hour has here. Scripture has already set aside this time for such an occasion. Doubt delays the relief that obedience provides. The activity you are currently performing does more than just change your trajectory. It transforms the reality around you. Spiritual currents are already in motion. Favor is changing the atmosphere around you, giving you an opportunity to advance. Your reluctance has been noted. God has observed the quiet struggle with dread and uncertainty, but the truth remains unchanged. You're prepared. The signs have been present for a longer time than you may have realized. Opportunities are merging. Situations are developing. Support is coming from unexpected places. This window will not be accessible indefinitely. If you delay, you risk losing the momentum that has built up around you. This activity requires trust and courage. Despite the fact that the road ahead is not completely visible, you are encouraged to go. Rely on the guidance that awaits you at each stage of your trip. Each sacrifice made during this season produces benefits that go beyond the power of calculation. The purpose of waiting has been met. Movement, creation, and assertion of what has already been recognized as yours are all imminent. Your existence is marked by a divine imprint that makes you unique. You have been appointed for this particular season. Nobody else is capable of filling the position that has been created for you. Status is not bestowed by anointing. Weight is the term. It is a matter of accountability. It is trusted to drive transformation in regions where others cannot. Moses was unable to see the path beyond the flames. Esther was unable to see beyond the throne. David was unable to see beyond the Colossus. Nevertheless, each person responded to the summons. So, have you been chosen, prepared, and endowed with a mission that only you can complete? The fortitude that lives within you, the insight that is awakening in your spirit, and the scope of your actions are all aspects of the power that has been bestowed upon you. The world may not have noticed the weight you endure. This does not lessen it. Heaven has already done this. And what the heavens mark will show in time. Your moment is sacred. Your contribution is important. This is not in the process of approaching. So, it's arrived. Proceed without hesitation.